place to promote the growth of Tigres in English through analysis, discussions, interviews, and more. Welcome to the La U Times podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the La U Times podcast. It's a pleasure to be back after a full week of episodes where we had some special guests in the house, including Tab Ramos, David Copeland-Smith, and obviously our always recorded episode of the week, recapping what's going on with the team. So glad to be back with another wonderful week to begin and kick off what is the return of Liga MX with a big match against Club America. But I'm going to welcome the team and get you guys started on Tigres Talk tonight. We'll start off with Lou in Austin, Texas.
What's up, Arnoldo? Good to be here, man. Great to see you guys again.
Likewise, Lou. I'm very happy to see you again. We had you on a ton of episodes last week, and so I didn't think we were going to catch you back immediately.
I lied and told you guys I was limited edition, but it was just all for show, bro.
It's always a pleasure to have you, Lou. Next, we got Double L Nation in the house. Edgar, what's up, brother? How are you?
Glad to be back with you guys, as always. Ready to talk about Tigres. Ready for Lou. I missed you last week.
You couldn't connect. You missed him, brother. You're going to have to pay a big buck.
Yeah, he's still limited edition if you're from Dallas, Texas. No love.
And next, we got our producer, Dennis, in the house.
Wow, I'm usually last. So
yeah, I figured
got me off guard.
I figured we circle back from H-Town to H-Town and bring back bring in Alfred last.
Okay, fair enough. I'm about to switch.
You gotta change it up here now and then, bro.
Yeah.
Gotta keep you on your toes. You're trying to come after me.
Why am I your op? Is that why?
No, let him in though, for real. He's waiting. What's up, Alfred? How are you? On mute.
And he's muted.
Oh,
what a start.
See, y'all threw me off it too. I was expecting to be after Edgar.
See, I always sometimes I always start with Alfred first, and then sometimes it's Lou, but you gotta mix it up a little bit. You gotta keep everybody on their toes.
How's everyone doing?
Good. No official sponsor today, it looks like.
No. Not today.
We didn't get monkey papas from Monterrey, no?
No, bro, too high of a price point. They didn't want to give me an abono.
Terrible, man. Terrible. What we got today, fellas? A packed week after what seemed to be quite a bit the episodes. I started off in the intro talking about it, but probably a good start there. And then we can segue into what Double O Nation prepared for us. Some general thoughts on last week's episodes, some highlights about what you guys thought overall about the interviews that we had on the show, and what you reflected on. We'll start off with Alfred this time.
Ooh. Actually, those were really, really exciting episodes. I was really nervous on that Tab Ramos one. I don't know why. But it was exciting to be part of that. Thank you guys. Obviously, I wouldn't be part of this if it wasn't for you guys inviting me on. So it was great to have a former player. Hopefully, in the future we can book some other players as well. Maybe some more recent ones, that we have a little bit more in common and don't have to Google and research about.
Yeah, that was it's Lou and I talked a little about it, and I want to give the space to him to now sort of comment on that, because he said something to me that was really cool after we interviewed David Copeland-Smith, and we were talking and reflecting on the interviews. But I'm going to toss it over to you, Lou.
Well, first of all, I had never met David or had any real knowledge about him, and he was super interesting. I told you after the show, Arnoldo, we got to have that guy back because he has so many stories. Like, to me, the one that was like really crazy is he was living in, who was it, in Will Ferrell's house, like, and then he had ties with Robbie Williams, the singer.
Yeah.
So there's just so much there, dude, that we can like talk about. Obviously, we wanted to get to the point and get to the meat and potatoes of the show and his relevance with Tigres and what he's doing with his project. So ultimately, we got on topic, but he's one of those guys that I feel like, man, we gotta have him back. You talked about maybe bringing him for the CONCACAF in May, and that would be absolutely awesome if we could do that. And then Tab, I thought was what was really cool, man, is that he brought us back to a really important time in our history. A lot of our audience, perhaps, they weren't born at that time. They don't have any recollections of those mid '90s teams. But I think it's also very important, right, that as a show, as a podcast, as a community, we have ties to the past and where we come from. And I think that was part of the reason why we had Tab on, to be able to, reminisce about those times, what our team looked like at that moment, and how appropriate it is, right, that
Yeah.
today, is the 29th anniversary of relegation, and a lot of the names that are surfacing today were things that he was talking about back then. Antonio Carlos Santos and uh, el Torres and Pastor Lozano and a lot of these guys,
Siboldi.
Siboldi. So it was great to have him on. It was really appropriate. It wasn't only for the 65th anniversary, but also to remember the years in relegation.
Yeah, absolutely. Edgar, any reflection over the what seemed to be very great episodes last week?
Yeah, I mean, definitely great interviews, great insight from both. Like, as Lou mentioned, David Copeland, not a very familiar name from, Tigres, but a lot of knowledge, a lot of insight. Was engaged for the whole hour. It was just a really, really great interview. Love to have him back. Would love to get the opportunity to talk with him next time as well. And of course, Tab Ramos, providing that insight that kind of doesn't always get talked about a lot. More than anything, we kind of focus more on the recent decade. So, getting a little bit of insight from him was just really, really phenomenal. And listeners as well, if you guys could give us feedback on what you thought, preferably on Twitter. You guys also have the option to comment on Spotify and Apple. But if you could give us feedback on Twitter so that we can retweet it and maybe get the attention of some other names and maybe potentially invite them in, that would help us out a lot.
Yeah, I know we're going to be doing some clips, in the next few days and, coming few weeks with some of the, things that we thought was things to highlight from those interviews, on both sides of, with David and Tab Ramos. And so I think that would definitely, get some more of the interview process and what we went through, enjoying that insight from both sides and both people who were, again, fantastic and took the time, and probably our biggest interviews yet, in terms of higher profile of people coming onto the show. And we're excited to continue to bring more people, and we're looking forward to continue to share insight and share stories and the passion that brings us all together, which is Tigres. And so what a wonderful way to recap that week and, segue into what seems to be another full week of things happening, obviously, with this episode and, a big match and obviously everything that we're going to talk about tonight. So now I'm going to toss it over to Edgar with Double O Nation, the creator of our guideline for tonight's show.
All right. So last weekend we had Tigres versus Pumas at Q2 Stadium, where the beloved and very popular Mr. VIP Tigres English was present and got the full experience. So now I'm going to pass it over to him so we can get the full breakdown of what went down in Austin.
Lou, but before you start us, though, begin with the meet and greet, because I know that you were there. So share a little bit of the insight from there, and then obviously into the stadium.
Yeah, so shout out first of all to our boy Carlos Alejandro from San Antonio, who hooked it up for me. He won 2 passes for the meet and greet and invited me along, and that was awesome. We both got there super early, and we spent like an entire hour and a half just talking about Tigres, which was awesome. So it felt like a little mini podcast. I even mentioned to him that he needs to come on the show at one point, so maybe we can have him on. He seems kind of open to it. But the meet and greet was awesome. We got there, and Antuna and Cordova were in the lobby just hanging around. and people kind of started crowding Cordova, taking photos with him, and they were taken in a shuttle to a hospital. So they ended up doing some hospital visits, and I think eventually that ended up on Club Tigres English social media page, and you can kind of see what they were up to there. And then the rest of the squad stayed for photos, videos, signatures, and that was a great experience. I had been to one before, but this one was really good because there was a lot more players I felt than there were last time. So I got Aquino, I got Joaquin, Carioca, a lot of the big names, Juan Bruneta. I was able to get signatures and some photos, so it was an awesome time. A lot of fans were there, and everybody seemed to be enjoying it, taking photos with the Tigre. So it was a great experience. And then that was from noon onward, and then the rest of the time there was like pregame activities at Q2 Stadium for both fans. I was really pleased with our showing. I went in there thinking, oh, it's probably going to be like a 50-50 split because there's a lot of Pumas fans here in Austin. Or, I thought, man, perhaps we'll have a small edge. But once I got to the stadium, I got there really early, did like my usual walk around, kind of take a look at everything. And we were the majority. I would say at least 70% of the stadium was Tigres. Fans were loud. They were enjoying it. It was a great time. Weather was perfect. So it was just an awesome experience. We didn't get a goal, but got to see the players. I mean, it's just a privilege to watch Carioca play. And we can talk about that, but it was overall it was very successful time for Tigres here in Austin. I think they'll definitely come back.
Yeah, I sort of feel like that's it's been consistent now. Several matches now in Austin. Even prior to the Leagues Cup, there's been a few friendly games as well there. How many people would you say were at the meet and greet, Lou?
Probably they were doing it in waves, and each time they would probably let about 40, 50 people in at a time.
Oh, wow.
And I want to say maybe there was 3 waves of that, so maybe like roughly about 150 people, 160 people, perhaps.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
I went to the first one, and there was only 40 people allowed, meaning 20 people that were invited, and you had the option to bring a guest. And I know there's been a couple after that, and I didn't remember quite being this many people as you're mentioning.
What they're doing now, which the first time they were here in Austin, is they were letting people kind of just wander around, do their photos, signatures, getting videos from people. Now they're not letting people, for example, like, hey, say hello to my uncle, right, on a video, that kind of thing. So they cut that out, and only one item signed per person. So a lot of people would bring their hats and like 2 or 3 jerseys, and they're getting everything signed, and that was kind of delaying the process. That's kind of out the door now. You get to take one jersey or one item, and that gets signed by everybody. You form the line, you go through, and yeah, you can video as you go, but you're not allowed to like get players to stop and do that, do a message or whatever. So that kind of makes the line kind of move faster. And I think they're able to let more people in that way, which I think is smart.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to create a bigger engagement, especially for the people that don't get the opportunity to be in Monterrey or have the chance to travel as much. And I think that's one of the cool things that I'm not sure if other teams do it, but if they do, it's such a great, movement because, I've had this conversation, initially when I first went to the first meet and greet, when they had the Clásico friendly here a couple years ago. In Monterrey, you have the chance to run into them a lot more often, but the closeness, the invitation from the club is not there. You could either wait outside of the stadium, waiting for them to leave in their cars. You can wait for them outside of the new set, the Centro de Entrenamiento Tigres, and possibly get a signature. But it's never been a invitation where they have the chance to bond this close and be in such a proximity with the players and get signatures in this way, and even take pictures in a more controlled environment, as opposed to like, and taking a chance if I might get the signature or not.
Yeah, and people were very respectful of their time, so I thought that helps too. When the fans kind of respect the rules, and they follow the rules that are in place. And there was a lot of people from the staff there kind of helping everybody along, kind of guiding people, showing them how to do it right. And because a lot of times, they just put the jersey on the table, and then players have to stretch it out. Well, they were telling people, hey, help the player out, stretch it out, that way they can sign it quicker. And so it was really smooth. I thought they did a great job with it, and I think they're just getting better and better at it.
Good. Glad to hear it. Any questions for Lou, guys, as far as the meet and greet? Questions for vibes from the stadium? Anything?
Just to comment, I mean, obviously, great to hear from Lou's, own experience that we had a great showing. Obviously, I was listening to the, wrong broadcast because they were talking about like, oh, there's more Pumas, but in their own, imagery and videos, and when they were passing the stands, all you could see was Tigres fans. So I don't know what they were talking about.
Yeah, I don't know if they were maybe blending the golds together or whatever on the stands, and it kind of looks, but it was clearly a majority for Tigres. I mean, I'm saying 70-30, and I think I'm being conservative. It might have even been better than that. And their porra was considerably smaller than ours.
They had more flags than people.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I was looking at their stands, and they were probably like 9 rows up, like total. I mean, they filled up those 9 rows, but it was only 9 rows. Whereas, like, if you looked at on our end, which is on the east end, like our stands were more full than theirs. So I thought we did a great job. We showed up pretty good.
What was the official attendance of that match?
Oh, I don't know.
Been announced?
Must have been like 6,000-7,000, perhaps.
Okay.
Perhaps, I'm not sure. I'm kind of bad at gauging amounts.
It looked more crowded than the Leagues Cup game against Pachuca, and that had about 6,000-7,000. So I thought it looked, I thought it was closer to 10. That's why I was hoping that you had a number, but maybe they didn't release it. But the stands looked a lot more full this time around than the Leagues Cups when we went and traveled for that game.
I agree with you. I was going to actually say that it was probably just a little bit more than that.
Yeah, but how disappointed are you that your twin wasn't there at the meet and greet? That's the real question.
Yeah, if you ask Carlos, he'll tell you how disappointed I was, man. I was like, I had told him, hey, as soon as I get there, bro, take a photo of me and him. Like I was super happy. I had like the perfect space where I wanted him to sign. And I get there and I don't see him, and I'm looking around for him, and I'm like, hey, where's Nico? Where's Nico? Where's Nico? And all these players are signing, bro. Like,
where's my twin?
Felipe Rodriguez signed it. And I had Marcelo Flores and Fulgencio and Lainez. Oh, speaking of Fulgencio, bro. So I get to where Fulgencio is, and I didn't really want him to sign my jersey. But the problem is he was right next to Bigon, and Bigon grabbed the jersey, started stretching it, and he signed it first. And then so as I'm holding it and Bigon's holding it, Fulgencio gets it and starts signing, and I was like, dude, I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not gonna say anything, I'm gonna leave it alone. But I really didn't want his signature. And then Bigon looked like he had just rolled out of bed, bro. And I told him, like, after he had signed, I was like moving on. And I said, hey, bro, no te peinaste? Like, what's going on, bro? and Bigon goes, well, yeah, look, I didn't comb my hair, but what about this dude? And like Fulgencio had like this massive bed hair, bro. And I said, I don't care about him. He never combs his hair, and he got upset, bro.
I bet my man showed up to picture day. Like, he doesn't make all this money, he can't get a decent haircut.
Bro, he looked like
embarrassing,
like cow lick. I was like, dude, that looks horrendous. But he got upset, so I just moved on. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna get kicked out of this thing. But yeah, he's gonna have to step up his dress and grooming. Anyway, so I was like past those guys, and I'm still looking for Nico. And the next one up was Javier Aquino. And I told her, hey, compadre, did Nico travel? And he's like, no. And I was like, oh, super devastated, bro.
Damn, bro.
He's a Dallas exclusive because he was at the Dallas meet and greet, right, Edgar? So
yeah.
I do have a photo with him from the first time around, but I wanted one this time around, bro. Now that he's a legend, Look at me. Look
Get
at
out
me.
of here.
Now that he scores again.
Yeah, now that he remember how to score. That's great. That's good to hear, man. I don't want to spend too much time on the match, but I'll give it to you guys. Maybe some good things or positives that you saw in that match, and maybe a couple of negatives if you have them. We'll start with you, Alfred.
No, not much, man. I mean, I took it as, what it was, face value. I mean, in the end, we got to see, some of the players that we usually don't see. Which to me, it's more of an opportunity for them, not so much an opportunity for us to see them, but it's an opportunity for them to show themselves. And kind of disappointed that some of these guys, seem like they like being on the bench because they're it's their time to show and and kind of demonstrate that they want more out of being a Tigres player, and it for some of them it just doesn't seem like that's going to be a thing.
Yeah. Edgar, Dennis, anyone?
I don't know about you guys. Were you guys able to find the game on Estrella TV?
No, it wasn't on there.
Yeah, that's my only complaint.
Yeah, I wonder what happened with that.
Well, Estrella TV is only for home games.
Yeah, but they showed the previous friendly that was at the Alamo Dome, the Classic Dome.
Okay.
Well, and they publicized it as if it was going to be on there too. So I don't know what happened. I'm not going to hold y'all guys. I was busy watching March Madness with my boys, so I didn't see a lick of this game. But I'm glad we didn't give up a goal. So that's my one comment.
I'll tell you what. I was definitely watching March Madness and the game at the same time. That was a great Saturday for me. I watched the Cougs beat Gonzaga, and I watched this game. But I'm with you, Alfred. It was seemed like the players were just going through the motions, and then the chances that they did create came off of familiar faces that we know and what they're capable of, which means some of the starters. Linus coming on, showing some energy, coming off of an injury, setting up Aquino, who missed a wide open sitter in front of the box that should have given us the victory.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm talking about. I mean, Linus comes in and in like literally 2 minutes, he was already showing more than what we had seen, from the other guys. So,
yeah. What about you, Lou? We'll finish off with you. Any final thoughts of the match or something that positive, negatives?
Yeah, you can't read too much into it. It's a friendly, but you get the sense of why the starters are starters and why the bench players are bench players, right? And then one thing that keeps popping back into my head is Ozzy Herrera. To me, he continues to be a good sub, but not a great starter. It's that trend sort of continues with him, and the starters. It was obvious to me like why they're starters. Carioca was amazing, controlling that midfield. Gorriarán was great, and then Javier Aquino. It's incredible, man. At his age, when he came in, instantly controlled the fullback from the other team. It was incredible to see. Where perhaps like a guy like Loroña had struggled, or, Osby Rodriguez struggled, but Javier Aquino comes in an instant spark. Same thing with Linus. Like he gave us an instant spark. So you can kind of see why certain players are starters and why there's role players that are not going to be very useful to us. I think Antuna, for example, is another one that comes to mind. It was sort of an opportunity for him, and he was just not there. He wasn't there on that night. So I think he's going to struggle. We'll see. I mean, you don't want to give up on anybody, but
the ship sailed.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see it. I just don't see how he knocks anybody out of that position. And the only thing I thought was, okay, he didn't do anything, right? He didn't perform. And the only other excuse I can make for him is perhaps we should have played him at the 9. That's the only thing, instead of closer to the wing. But that was it. I mean, other than that, you're playing against other Pumas players that are probably subs or not starters. So, it was his time to shine, and he didn't do it.
And the best case scenario for him, if he were to show some sort of signs of improvement and demonstrate good play the rest of the season, is at the position that he played, which is in the back line of 3 as a carrilero, because Nico is the starter, right? And then Marcelo looks to be the starter next to him, and then Ociel coming off the bench and taking that position. And so then when APG comes back, it's like you got him in the mix. And so the only true position available on the field for him to get playing minutes is, if Aquino's having a bad game, if you are taking chances on possibly, creating, some space depending on the opponent. You can take out Chuy Garza, flip Aquino to the left side, and put Antuna there. But now with Linus coming back, like that, it becomes even more difficult. So the game or a match like this was a perfect opportunity for him to show some signs of playing time. And I think that even now when Guido Pizarro has taken over, there hasn't been a ton of signs of confidence that this guy is going to be a contributor in Guido Pizarro's system. So I think the ship sailed. I think that this small little gap, this little small sample of games that Guido Pizarro has now had as a coach, and including this friendly, I don't see where Antuna fits in that picture. There might be some matches where, like I said, he might play a part, but I wouldn't expect too much of him being a true contributor to the squad.
Yeah, he's just not involved enough. I mean, he's not getting enough touches. And you saw the other night with Gorreran instantly got touches. So it's not the position, it's just the player in that position that matters.
Absolutely. Well, we can move on from friendlies, from Molero matches, as Tuca would love to call those. What we got next out here?
Alrighty. America versus Tigres match preview. Guido Pizarro is up for his biggest challenge so far as manager of the Incomparables. Tigres will travel to Mexico City to face off against current Liga MX champions and league leaders. Luckily, the FIFA window allowed for Guido to test some players and recover some injured ones as well. Will he shake things up against the toughest opponent yet? Let's discuss.
Great segue. Talking about contributing on the pitch. I'll toss it over to you, Alfred. What do we think? Do we foresee any changes into the lineups? I mean, the only true factor, and very intended there with that pun, is Linus possibly being the only change happening. Any other change?
Ooh, dad joke of the year over here.
Hey man, don't be mad. I did well in English class.
All right. Well, I'm gonna toss it back to some of you guys. Can anyone remember? Don't we have players that are on the verge of getting a fifth yellow that that we need to either take care of or get them to get their fifth yellow and then get suspended? I mean, because I remember that was like a topic of conversation after the last game. Does anyone remember?
I'm gonna look it up, but I don't truly recall, to be quite honest with you.
And one thing that I also I think is going to be on Guido's mind is that next Tuesday is the CONCACAF game against Los Angeles Galaxy, which I'm going to be there. So I do hope that he's taking that into consideration. Yes, it's America. Yes, obviously it's a tough opponent, and we want to make sure that we kind of demonstrate that we can actually play them good as well. But do we really think that that we're losing anything if we lose that game? Versus playing all the starters and then potentially someone maybe getting injured or just being tired for the game on Tuesday, which is ultimately more important, at least to me, I think.
It's Chuy Garza with 4 and Joaquin with 4.
So would you guys include Joaquin? Would you guys include Chuy Garza? I mean, maybe Chuy Garza, but I don't know about Joaquin.
I think you're covered there, right? If to me, it's a win-win. You start Chuy, natural starter all season, or you bring Linus confidence, give him back his starting position because you believe in him. He's fully healthy. Whichever one starts, I think it's a comfortable decision. It's a safe decision for Guido. Because you can bring Linus off the bench and he can fit in comfortably into his role. I think with Joaquin, it gets a little bit interesting because against an opponent like America, you still want to show the intention or the intent to win the match, and he's your best defender. And America is going to rock the ball around. They're fast. They're speedy players. So I think that's my only...
Yeah, we don't have many options on defense, so yeah.
What do we think, Dennis? What do you think? You haven't spoken too much tonight. Trying to talk mess about my puns.
Well, I think this is a game that we should hype up to a degree. Yes, it's important. Yes, you want to see where you are against the league leaders, but I also don't think that it's like it shouldn't be that telling, you know? Like I think Alfred hit it on the head correctly that really that Tuesday match against LA is the priority right now. Do I want the boys to succeed? Absolutely, but um I'm curious to see now that we're healthier what the lineup will look like. Will Linus immediately slot right back in? I imagine that Potter will not start. So what does that midfield look like? Some very interesting decisions that Guido will have to make, but I, there's a lot of stock in this game, but I'm not putting all my stock in this game as opposed to Tuesday.
See, that's where I'm thinking of the LA game. I mean, I would put Parra in against America.
See, I differ with you guys, but I'll go last. Lou, what do we think?
No, I think you got to go all out against America, man. Because for one, the standings,
Agree.
we got an opportunity to flip the standings on, and perhaps move into first place potentially. Obviously depending on what Leon does, but to me, it's a really important game. And I don't want to take anything away from LA Galaxy. I learned my lesson from New York City FC last year, but LA Galaxy isn't playing that great. And so to me, if you're going to put all your marbles in one bag, I think you do it against America, the better coach team, the team with the better talent, the team that's been so hot for so long. I think that's where you got to show up. And then I'm not saying don't go all out against Galaxy, but I think there's margin for error also being a two-leg match, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get a decent result on the road, and you're on your way at home closing out. So to me, there's no reason why we can't go hard against America and see what we're made of.
Well, here's the other thing too that I was just thinking about. I remember mentioning it on an episode last season. We need to get all the points we can get because we still need to close the gap on Toluca in order to get one of those automatic Champions Cup spots for next season without having to qualify for a final. So all the points.
Good point.
And we're behind still. Like we're
like 2 points behind. But yeah,
exactly. I agree with Lou as well. I think it doesn't fit the profile of what Guido Pizarro was as a player, and I don't think it would fit the profile of what he would be as a coach. You go into this match knowing they're the team to beat currently, and they've had their back and forths throughout the last decade. America trying to take down Tigres at times. Now, we're on the other flip of it, and Tigres trying to take down America. So that's a point there for me that I would make as far as the approach initially. I think that Guido would like to go all out for this match being an important match, in his early career as a coach. And I think that ultimately, like Lou said, you got a two-legged series against the Galaxy. So it's easier to game plan for two matches as opposed to just one individual match. And then drawing back to your point, then it's like points are an important factor. Like I think that more than ever, playing at home is a big factor for us. Not that it wasn't before, but now with Guido at the helm and everything, the emotional spark that this has created now, him taking over as a coach, I think you want to close out games at home throughout the Liguilla, and I think you got to fight, to get the number one or two spot.
Guido Pizarro tested out Romulo Zuarg as a left stopper against Pumas, which I thought was really interesting. And so now we've got additional depth there, and he actually did it well. The only problem we had was that he got paired up with Tercero.
No, mames.
He was alone back there, bro. I was gonna say, come out. I jump in, bro. Don't worry, I got you.
Bro, I was gonna say, why did you hold out on me whenever I said any positive, negatives from the match against Pumas? Now I know why, because you didn't want to tell us the fact that he was playing with Tercero.
Good, bro, was leaving some good space back there too, bro.
Well, that speaks well of Swerg. He was playing stopper, he was playing libero, he was playing the whole back line, basically.
The whole three-man back line, it was him.
Okay, but Lou, going off of that though, do you foresee that being like, we know he came in as a right center back as that stopper in against Santos when we won 3-0. and now he's been playing as a left center back in this match. Is that something that we're going to foresee happening more often? Or do you think he still has potential to slot into that midfielder role? Because even though, Dennis, I think it was you who pointed out you don't foresee Parra playing, I actually foresee Parra playing in this match against America. I think it's the perfect way to counter their dynamism in the midfield and not have Carioca, who would probably, require more of the possession. And I don't know if we're going to have the outright possession immediately in the match. I think that's something that's going to develop. And I think you want Carioca to come in and help you manage that, whether that's for the tie, the possible victory at the end, or even come back and like propel the team to a win if you're down, in a situation, maybe a 1-0, to tie, or, a 1-1 and, you potentially to win the match. So that's where I see the more of the chess movement there. But, I know that I started off with Romulo question there.
I was going to say,
go ahead. My bad.
I was just going to say really quickly, Carioca should not start this game now that I'm thinking about it, because you need Parra's legs.
Yeah.
Like his youthful energy goes a long way, and Carioca is just slow enough now to where I feel like he'd get overrun pretty easily by his America midfield. Also youth minutes, but that goes without saying. Go ahead, Lou.
Pizarro has made it clear that his vertebrae all the way up from Nahuel all the way up to Nico is that he wants people that are good with the ball.
We're including Nico in the vertebrae.
You see how nice his touch is now, bro? Brings it down smooth, dribbles, passes, distributes. Guys turned into Cruyff, bro.
Let's see him versus America, man.
Let's see. He's got a test coming up. But
my man went from Peter Crouch to Karim Benzema real quick.
No lie, bro. So everything is all kind of connected upwards, right? He wants guys that are good with their feet. Nahuel is awesome. Purata shown he's good. Carioca, amazing. Bruneta, Gorriaran, Nico. He's just working that all the way up. And I think Romulo being there in the center kind of messes up that system for him. And I think that's why eventually you're going to see Romulo play down there. And honestly, I don't hate it at all, bro. You've got the two Brazilians playing stoppers. They're destroyers, bro. They got so much speed, really good one-on-one, and they're just shut down kind of center backs, stoppers. So to me, I don't hate that at all. Having, Chuy Garza or Lainez as your left wing back, Romulo, then Purata, then Joaquin, and then Aquino, that makes for a really nice back line.
Yeah, and so I know Angulo has had good moments this season, but it definitely puts the pressure and rises up to the competition in terms of like that internal competition for the players. So he's also coming back from
that's Nations League champion Jesus Angulo to you.
Yeah,
and
captain.
Yeah, I mean, good point. I mean, I'm just pointing out the fact that I do like the vision that Lou has with Romulo. I think that Romulo is a player that could surprise us, and we're expecting him to be the defensive midfielder with Paunovic, and now with Guido, being a stopper and using that speed in the back could be handy, and especially against a team like America. So. Very open to that at some point in the game, using that to counter some of the in-game situations that America presents. I want to bring it back to the midfield. I know that, ultimately, we're going to get Nando Gorriaran and Bruneta in there. So is everybody a consensus that Parra is going to be the starter there? Everybody okay with it?
I'm okay with it. He's shown he's very capable. We had concerns earlier because we hadn't seen enough of him, but I think now we're all on his boat.
I'm okay with it, but I don't know if it's gonna happen.
Oh, you doubt it?
I just don't know. I think Guido has two solid options there. You keep him in there, or you keep Carioca. I don't know. I just don't know which one he's gonna choose. Does he want the experience or does he want the legs? I'm okay with it though.
I mean, it's a big test regardless, right? Like for the youth guy in him, It's a big match. The three-peat champions. So it's a great showcase for him as an individual player. He just came back from the national team, so I'm not sure. I know we brought this up recently as far as playing the team. I'm sorry, playing for the youth team with Mexico would add on minutes, but I don't know how many minutes he has to play at the youth level for them to equate and give us the amount of minutes with the current squad, meaning in the league. So
isn't it the opposite though, that he has to play a certain amount of minutes with us in order for any of his youth minutes to qualify? I thought that's what it was with Chicha last season.
Yeah, no, that is correct. He has to play more than 180 minutes with a squad, but I also think that there's some sort of like, I don't know, intricate thing where he has to play a certain amount of minutes with the youth team as well. Somebody out there that would like to research this, but if not, we'll get back to it. I'm sure Alfred's gonna pick up that Google search after this episode is done.
Woodsy
and figure it out.
Woodsy in the chat.
Rey Pelé.
My boy Woodsy.
What'd you think of Tuchel ball, Woodsy? I want to know that.
Edgar, what do you think? What do you foresee in this lineup changes that could possibly happen, or even just overall thoughts about this big match against America under Guido Pizarro?
So I think one thing's certain: Parra does not play 90 minutes. I think potentially Guido Pizarro is still deciding if he wants to start him or not, but I don't see him playing 90 minutes. I think he does get some sort of activity, but it's not going to be 90 minutes. And I potentially do see Lainez coming back into the starting 11.
Okay. What was I missed the comment the other Edgar's mentioned.
Tigres.
He's played the minutes with the squad, so he needs to play with the youth team. Okay. So he re-emphasizing what we were just mentioning. Okay.
Okay, so we predict the lineup now. That's what we're going to do, right?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay. Nahuel.
Backline.
Aquino.
Yeah.
Joaquim. Puratovic. Angulo. And here's where I think it's the toss-up. Does he respect
now before you say what you're gonna say, Arnoldo, I don't think they're mutually exclusive, because against Pumas he played in Marcelo's spot, like Nes did. So
yeah,
that's another option there too.
Okay, so Garza.
And I mentioned it to you guys when we were talking about it last week. Like, to me, it's between those two positions, ideally, that he can play. I would personally like him at the left wing back spot, because I've been asking for this since 2 seasons ago. I've been wanting to turn Diego Lainez into a left back or a full back, or in this case, a left wing back in the line of 3, because he progressed so much defensively and tactically under Siboldi, and he gained so much confidence, was healthy prior to this injury, was doing well, assisting, scoring, and he looked more comfortable on the field. God, I can't believe I'm complimenting him so much. And
scholarship.
I thought that he could immediately come in and impact even more than Jesus Garza, just because of his natural left foot position. Because if you see the matches of Chuy Garza, he does well, and he still has the cutback is also an option offensively, right? Where he goes and then he cuts back and crosses with his right foot, that's an option. But the thing for me that I would like even more, and that's for him to also step up more of an improvement in his game, is the end line game, right? If he's going to play at the left wing back spot, he needs to increase his end line crosses. And I think that, there was one clear indication of that, where the game against Santos, he ended up at the end line and he crossed with his right foot awkwardly, and it was a terrible cross. Instead of just impacting with your left foot and possibly asking for a miracle and ending up in Nico Ibanez's glorified head, for a goal. And so I think that that's where, like, I side more to him playing the left wing back spot, and meaning Lainez. So I think that, does he respect it? That, again, it's a toss up there. So what do you guys think? Who we starting? We voting on Chuy Garza or Lainez there?
I'm going Garza.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going Garza because he also gives, I believe, 20% of youth minutes.
Okay.
And Line is coming back from injury. He'd be a good sub.
Okay. Fair. I like it. Midfielder, I think we're all in agreement. Parra starts there, but I think, some hesitant, but I think overall consensus, Parra, Nando, and Brunetta, easy. And then our leading forward scorer, Nico Ibanez, and Marcelo.
Our vertebrae.
Our important vertebrae piece,
Our
Nicolas
heart and
Ibanez,
soul.
your twin, Nico, and then Marcelo. So projected good lineup, safe lineup to go with.
That's
Okay.
the only where I'll differ with you guys is I think he pulls Marcelo and he gives Lainez a shot there.
Oh,
I agree.
wow.
I think
agree.
that's where he's gonna give him a shot, and I think I think he wants to see how he develops in that spot.
Could be. Marcelo
Linus
also
will be
gives
up
youth
for it
minutes.
too. Linus will be up for it too because it's against his former team.
See, they're safe bets, bro. Like, you can't miss with that, right? Like, again, they're the two positions that Linus fits in well. That second forward spot, left wing back spot. So either option is good. Then you also play it safe with Marcelo coming off the bench. He gives you a burst of energy, gives you that attack. And then if it doesn't work out, you put Marcelo Flores there and slide Linus to the left wing back spot, which could also work. So much flexibility. It's a safe
Watch
bet.
him surprise us with Cordova up there.
No manches, bro. Cordova is going to be racing his Shelby Mustang down Ciudad de Mexico before he gets some playing time on the field.
What do you mean racing? He's gonna be stuck in traffic for 6 hours.
Yeah, I'm on the hate train the rest of the season if he doesn't have a good game.
So so no Romulo in the starting lineup.
No, I think it's going to take some time to adjust. I think, especially with Guido implementing what he wants. And, he tried against Santos, which a fair, easy opponent. The game was already decided. He tried it in a friendly match, and he had Mr. Pipsas in the back there. So it doesn't work out
Fair.
immediately.
Woodsy comment. Tuchel is the German Diego Coca.
A
Can't
traitor?
Come on, respect the England squad, Woodsy.
Yeah, I do.
Joker.
This dude over here talking about it's coming home when Spain's clearly gonna win the World Cup next year.
No, this guy over here.
It's coming home. It's coming home.
No, hombre, no.
None of us can point the right direction.
Yeah.
England, Japan final in 2026.
Hombre, ¿qué te pasa? It's gonna be Spain, France, and Spain's gonna win, dog.
What's it gonna be? Argentina again? They give Messi another cup.
I have a feeling that next summer I'm gonna be doing a clip, posting it up.
The goat's got to get another one.
Oh,
it's part of the script, bro.
Yeah,
it's written.
Don't tell me we're watching wrestling, bro.
Yeah,
it's all written out.
Yeah, for sure.
All scripted.
Predictions of this match.
You want to respond?
We'll go 1-1.
You want to respond to this comment first?
I asked Arnold if I could come on the show last week, but I fell asleep. Yeah, invitation's open. He knows this. He just needs to, grow up a little bit and come on.
Dang. What'd you say, Alfred?
1-1.
You said 1-1? Sure. Agreed.
Same here, 1-1.
Okay.
First game back after international break's always weird.
On the road, Ciudad de los Deportes. 2-1 victory.
Nice.
Oh man.
Confidence.
To be truthful, I predicted a loss. There was somebody had posted it was a week ago, a couple weeks ago, like the remainder of the games, and I predicted a loss for the America game. So we'll see. But now, I'm thinking we could.
But that was several weeks ago, right? That kind of changed the title.
We could get a tie.
So, but we don't lose. I think I lean not losing at all, and I think that we tie or we scratch it out.
I agree.
I have confidence, man. I went from zero expectations all season to, we got Guido as our coach, and there's an intention to play much, much better. And, we're only early on in his tenure, and there's still lots of things to improve on. But the one thing that for me gives me so much confidence is that, we had some talent on the field, and then now it's just a matter of potentializing the amount of talent that you had on the field with some good coaching, and as well as being smart. You can tell the players are making smarter decisions on the field, playing quicker one touches. And that was the thing that I was always criticizing under Paunovic, is like they would hold on to the ball, and parts of the field where they needed to move quicker and use the movements of each other in order to create advantages in possession. So I think that's where I get the confidence, is that the intention to play quicker, faster, and even have more pressure up the field, especially now with Nico being used in a way that favors us in terms of a whole team play style, where we knew his effort was there. We knew his pressure was there defensively, but now the movements that are happening, and the free flow offense that is happening through the quick connections, is making him look better offensively as well. So, confidence.
Part of me fears that we might break like Tigres Femenil did against America yesterday.
No, Alfred, no.
I don't need this energy.
No, Tigres Femenil. Well, we'll get to it.
Yeah. Because
Edgar,
that was interesting.
We didn't get an Edgar prediction. You around? Is he there? Maybe we'll get it from here in a second.
We'll get it in a second. Move us on, Dennis, to the next segment.
Now I got to pull up the outline. Now you're asking me to do more work than I anticipated. Anyways, you do? Okay, go ahead, Alfred.
Alfred's got it.
All right. Transfer news. Tigres in the headlines. It's a known fact that FIFA windows mean slow headlines in the world of football. But some interesting and credible rumors have circulated surrounding Tigres' upcoming transfer window moves. 2 names have been tied to the Felinos for the upcoming window. But are they true options for Profe Pizarro? We're here to break it down and give our opinions as to if these names are what the team needs. The 2 names are Angel Correa and Luis Chavez.
I'm all in.
Good thing he didn't include Piojo Alvarado there.
I don't mind that either.
I would trade him in a heartbeat for Tuna, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
and I know that he didn't put it on there, but I wish he would have put it on there, because I think, to me, and then you add a center back, or whether that's a coming out of the back center back that is 5 times better than Purata, and I'm still giving the benefit of the doubt to Purata in this case, for what he's done so far under Guido. But those 3 positions, you get a midfielder option to come in and replace your coach who was playing for you. You get younger at the position where your backup is Juan Pablo Vigón, and you get a better quality player there. And then you bring in Angel Correa, who comes in and gives you that important high-profile player and signing, where you have a guy like Marcelo, or potentially Linus there at that position as a second forward, and he could also play as a winger. And then again, you add in Piojo Alvarado, who I think that this offseason could be the potential departure of like numerous players, and I'm talking about 5 to 6 players from our squad, even potentially more. And you bring in somebody like him, so that rumor has been around for a while. The Luis Chavez, ESPN broke it, and Angel Correa, Merlo, the reporter or journalist down from South America, who's basically the equivalent of Fabrizio Romano in South America. He rarely misses, and he's very accurate with his information. So as soon as I saw it, I saw that he reported it. I knew that at least has some traction. There's definitely some validity and truth to it, especially because, Alfred might think the opposite, because I saw him tweet about it. But I think that because he tweeted it, is because it's coming from a closer source than all the periodistas or the journalists from Mexico, where they came out and then reported it after asking about it, because obviously it had been broken by the equivalent of Fabrizio Romano in South America. So we'll start off with some general thoughts. Dennis, you're are more of a international European football guy. Angel Correa, Argentine World Cup champion, heredero de la número 10 de Argentina, the GOAT, the potential signing of Tigres this offseason.
It's interesting with him because he comes from an Atletico team that we all know Simeone ball. Like, it's basically defend, 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 and just kind of hope your creative guys get something done for you. That's been the MO of Atletico Madrid for what feels like an eternity, right? So for him to potentially be coming over to a new country, to a new league, and to a new system, I would be very curious to see what the adjustment period would look like for him. But on paper, when you look at his talent, he's a little bit older. He's, I think,
30.
29 to 30. Yeah. And he has 1 year left on his deal with Atletico, so we would have to pay a transfer fee at this point. I would welcome it greatly. Any big name talent that you can get for our league goes a long way, and he's versatile enough to where he could play centrally, he could play out wide a little bit, and obviously the connection that he has with Guido goes a long way here. So
And
I would be, and now what? Yes, I would be very open to it. It's interesting because I feel like we need a more traditional forward, like a true striker still in some ways, depending on what happens with Gignac and if he extends. I know he probably will at this point, but just kind of looking ahead to the further future. But to bring in a guy like Correa, I mean, he makes the team better instantly. Like, let's just leave it at that. Like, he makes the team better instantly.
Yeah, and you talk about a transfer fee. He is in the last year of his contract, so even more, I think we have more leverage to get a favorable deal, because you either take the money or he walks away for free, especially if he does wants to come here because of the established relationship of playing on the national team with Guido Pizarro and Nahuel Guzman, which I think that's a very favorable position to be in when you're looking to sign a player, especially him taking over as a head coach. And what Tigres means, I'm sure, from what these guys' point of view is. Thoughts on? Well, we'll stay on Angel Correa for a second, then we'll go to Luis Chavez. Alfred, thoughts on Angel Correa as and what that could possibly mean for Tigres?
I want to hear from Lou first because I'm gonna be that guy.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Lou.
Well, I'll say this before Alfred says this thing is that I understand his skepticism. Like I really do understand where he's coming from, why he's skeptical. Um, However, what makes it credible to me is the fact that we have Nahuel and Pizarro. Those connections kind of make it more believable than as some promoter trying to get his name out to bump his price up. So I'll say that to Alfred's comment. But as far as what he would bring to the squad, I think he would play in that spot where Flores is, and I think he would be a big, huge step up from Flores, obviously because he's experienced and he's well traveled. He's played in great teams. He's played against better competition. So to me, if we could land him, it would be a huge boost for the squad and a huge boost for Pizarro, right? To be able to bring in a player like that. We've always said that our leaders were going to start attracting talent, and they have been. And I think it's just going to continue. And I think this is another step towards that, where we start to bring in special talent to the squad and building it up, making it stronger. So to me, you add a piece like that, man, I don't see him replacing Nico. I just see him being a complement to Nico Ibanez. So to me, that would make a formidable and fearful two-man scoring tandem there, which would be amazing. Because short term, I see Gignac coming back and playing in Flores' spot, and now you have Flores. I mean, you have Gignac and Nico playing the way it's meant to be played, not under Pauno, not the 4-4-2 Pauno, but the right way to play it. And so you're gonna see Gignac, excel with Nico under Pizarro. But bringing in a guy like that, now you're thinking long term, and he's gonna be a great piece to add to the squad.
Shifty player, quick, great shot. knows how to find the back of the net. Go ahead, Alfred. Let it rip.
Guys, definitely exciting. I'm not gonna say that it's not enticing and something that we would want. He is on the higher end of the age spectrum that we've gone for as of late. I don't know when was the last time we went for a 30-year-old Nico Lopez. But I mean, in the end, his talent is he could still give us a good 5-6 years. If he does come, but just pumping the brakes a little. I mean, didn't we have this same kind of feeling with like a Portuguese player this last transfer window, and a couple of players playing down in Brazil, where it ended up being, yes, there are options. Yes, obviously Tigres are looking at, all these different players, but there's been some local credible sources that have come out and said, no, there isn't advanced talks like Merlo said that there was. He's an option, but there's no advanced talks. So why is Merlo saying there's advanced talks? I do believe that, in some way or another, Argentinians like to, help each other out and say, hey, you gotta pump up my price right now. So how about you mention me down in Mexico with Tigres?
My only counter to that is that locally, our journalists have not hit very much in terms of transfers as of probably the last 2 seasons. They were way behind. It came out of the woodwork with the Romulo. It was late. Pello hasn't released very much anything or broken anything as far as like news. And so you would think that they're playing the safe bet of like, if Merlo's coming out, it's a safe bet to agree with him and not to instigate the fact that there's already advancements in the negotiation. So obviously I'm with you. I think that there's still a lot to be done and still a lot of time until we get to actual transfer season. And ultimately, like Lou says, the credible part is the fact that Nahuel Guzman and Guido Pizarro played with him. And I think Tigres as a team is obviously enticing in the fan base, and that's draws Argentine players to our fan base. And I still truly believe in Merlo and what he stands for as far as like breaking news with players and signings, because he's on top of it.
By one sort of not counter, but just like additional point to his age. Yes, he's 30, but he's not like a 30-year-old who's played heavy minutes. I mean, he's not a regular starter at Atleti, at least now. Like he kind of splits between starting and coming off the bench. So it's not a guy who plays 90 minutes every week and will be a little bit slower. So he's like a better 30.
He's a low mileage 30.
Yeah.
A low mileage 30.
Yeah. Which I think that would help, because I mean, if he's gonna move somewhere and be with, a team for a while, then if he comes to us, like the longevity factor, I think plays a role in that he could be productive for not just 1 or 2 years, but like 3, 4, 5, maybe 6.
And to me also, Dennis, you mentioned at the beginning of your points of views about him, under Diego Simeone El Cholo. What entices me is the fact that he did play with him and he was basically on a leash offensively. And so tactically, he's very aware of, or very proficient in tactical work and winning matches. And with what Guido is early on looking to implement, I think he'd be a great fit for his experience of what Cholo Simeone has taught him tactically. Because if you go back to his early days, playing in Argentina, he was, running loose, wild on the field in terms of offensive production. And when he got to Atletico Madrid with Cholo, he became a smarter player, and therefore the comment of the low mileage 30 player and being smart of when to use his legs, I guess. Edgar, we need to get your quick prediction on the America game, and then thoughts on Angel Correa possibly coming to Tigres.
So for the America game, 2-2 draw.
Oh, let's go.
First
Let
time
it
we would
fly.
give up 2 goals this season.
Yeah, let it fly.
Yeah, it'll be rough, but they're not going to beat us.
There we go. I like that. Staying consistent. We're not taking a loss. Hey, he might be onto something though. Both teams are in the leading category for goals not giving up, and then offensively, America is a juggernaut. So he could be onto something, and we're breaking loose offensively. So 2-2 is a high key possibility there as well. I like it. And then, what do you think now to the transfer aspect of possibly landing Angel Correa?
So definitely believe there's credibility there. Obviously, I know a lot of media outlets just kind of took it and ran with it. Outlets we've never heard with, outlets abroad. But yeah, I don't think there's anything concrete yet, and I firmly believe he's just one name out of a larger list of candidates from La Liga. I don't know where he would rank on it, assuming since this rumor is the first one that leaks, it's probably number one on there. I think he would be a really good signing overall, but obviously I don't believe that he's remotely close yet.
Yeah. And one more thing to add to the profile of he fits a profile of the signings that we'd like to go after. Guys close to expiring contracts or on expiring contract aspect of things from Europe. So that also sort of adds, a little bit of a push that possibly could land here. Next guy. I would love for this to happen. I think he could really, be very, very useful under Guido, especially at the position where Parra is. I know Parra has had good moments this season, and obviously he provides the youth minutes. But obviously he's going to have to go through a process, and he still has some development to go through. So Lou, kicking it off with you, Luis Chavez. Possible rumor, ESPN leaked it out this week or in the last few days as well that he could possibly join Tigres in the offseason.
It'd be a no-brainer for me. I think this is the second time that's kind of surfaced the rumor that we might go after, and I think where there's smoke, there's fire, because there's been interest probably on our side for sure.
For well over a year.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's just so dynamic in the midfield that he would just provide so many things, be able to keep possession, be able to distribute, but he's also another scoring option, which Parra isn't necessarily going to give you. So to me, he's just very well rounded, very dynamic, good speed. I think he would be fantastic on this squad.
You get Brunetta taking right side free kicks, and then or right-footed free kicks, and then you get Luis Chavez taking left-foot free kicks. Yep. And the one thing he's improved, man, is I think again another tactically he's gotten so much better as well. When he was early on with Pachuca, he was more offensively loose, and then he got some more defensive work rate. And yes, Trigger, I was going to mention that he definitely was part of the Fuerzas Básicas at Tigres, and like Alfred is mentioning, well over a year he's been connected. Thoughts, Alfred, on the possible signing as well of Luis Chavez?
I'm more excited about this one, honestly. No shade on Correa, who's a great player, but just I believe that there might be other options out there, offensively speaking, that would also work. But as far as like the center defensive, midfield position, where it would be awesome not to waste it on a foreigner, and there's not very many Mexicans out there that would fit well in this position, and I think that he is one of them. And I love the guy. I mean, I think that he was a great player at Pachuca, and even before, obviously going to Russia. With the rumors of him coming, I was hopeful that he would come. So if things aren't working out for him, that also fits, the type of players that we go out and get, like Lainez, like Reyes, back in the day with I forget that Salcedo and Salcido, where we went and got them, we pretty much brought them back from Europe after their stints. So, and Aquino as well. So, I mean, in the end, it'd be a perfect fit, and I'm all up for it. I mean, hopefully it does happen.
If we just get one of the two, I'd be happy. But if we were to land both, that would be amazing.
It's the time though, Lou. We've been waiting for these type of signings. That's why I was like, when Edgar didn't throw Piojo Alvarado into the mix, I was like, come on, bring him on as well. All three. Vámonos, vez.
The thing with Piojo that's also very doable with him is that potentially with some trades you can sweeten
Package
that
deal.
deal. Yeah, a little package deal. You could throw in Antuna,
Córdoba y
Córdoba,
Antuna, vámonos.
y tercero de pilón, bro. And
Y Bigón, vámonos. Y Diego Reyes, vámonos. 5 for
Bro.
1. Échale. Llévele.
Don't send out Bigón, bro. Come on, let's keep him.
Nah, we got Parra now, bro. We have to get
And
younger.
Pituto.
Throw Pisuto in there. Let's go.
We got to get younger, and let's be honest. Nobody expected Parra to be somewhat contributing as much as he has been. And like I said, I want to be clear. He still has a lot to develop. But early on, from his first match to his last match, he's shown a ton of progress. With a good coach, a good system, and good players around him, he can develop. So I just don't see Bigón in the long run being much more at Tigres. And how much more can you get out of him, especially in the last part of his career? And he can still help out a Querétaro, Puebla, Mazatlán. ¿Qué más? He could even potentially go back to Atlas and, give him the idol aspect of, being, a former captain of theirs and coming out of that youth system. So I think it's the time. It's really the offseason to move on from players and get a haul of players to come on, and especially with a new coach. I think this is the last step of the rejuvenation and the transition and changing of the baton from the past generation to this new generation, because you've had young players come in throughout the last 2-3 years and sort of like complement the older players, but this is the last stage, I think. And I think this last stage is very important, where you can't miss. You got to bring as much talent as possible. And whether that's Luis Chavez, Angel Correa, Piojo Alvarado, and, anybody else that could potentially come, you have to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah.
I love this international break, mid-season football de estufa.
Yeah, but that's what we were used to, though. We had signings like happening throughout our success, right? Like we were in the middle of like fighting for a championship, or had just finished a championship, and we were already like locking in a great player, if not already locked in. So this is what we got used to from 2015 to 2020.
Yeah, you would bring in the Ener Valencias, the Edu Vargas, the Ismael Sosas, the big signings.
Garayan.
Yeah, this big splash. Yeah, I think now with the fan base being so happy with Pizarro, the team being happy with Pizarro, and I think the directiva is happy, the front office is happy with the success he's having. I think they're going to go out and spend. I think now there is reason to go out and get some big names, because now you can build on this project.
Right. Now what we've been asking for is here, right? The actual 2 to 3 year project that we hadn't seen and sort of like crumbled through Piojo Herrera, Diego Coca, Chima Ruiz, Siboldi, Paunovic, and now Guido Pizarro. It's time.
Yeah. Let's go get it.
Okay. Anything else as far as transfers?
My one question with Chavez, I agree with what everybody said, would be I think you'd be a genuinely seamless, perfect fit. My one question is he willing to move on from Europe a year before the World Cup? That's the question.
He's not seen. He's not visible in Europe. Playing in Russia right now, especially with how Russia is still technically banned.
Yeah.
No, so I don't think he's even like having anybody anybody's eyes on him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Just a
100.
question. 100. Just a question. I think he should move, but just a question.
Okay.
Plus, he's still getting called to El3, so
yeah.
I still believe that he still has, at least here in Mexico, he still has a lot of market. So and they'll still give him call ups. So
I think I would bet that all 18 teams would be willing to sign him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And if we're being honest, like most of the interest would be coming out of those 18 teams. I don't think anyone from La Liga or from the Dutch league would be interested in doing business with a Russian team right now.
Yeah, exactly. Good point there too.
Yeah. Well, and in fairness, he paid his own release clause, so
Yeah.
so funny.
I want to dive in real quick before we go on to the next segment and just sort of keep it here, because it sort of matches what we're talking about. Media Day, guys. Media Day happened today at Tigres, which was random. We were talking a little bit about it right before we started recording. What is that? Is that a thing now? Are we having a Media Day near the end of the season or halfway through the season?
It's happened the last couple of seasons. Or
I know it's happened, but it's like I can't recall it was towards the beginning, middle, like end, like just random, like it wasn't announced. Like, they were sort of just like a big splash on social media as this morning, and you saw all the players, Tigres Femenil and Tigres Varonil, preparing for the media day. You saw a bunch of obviously journalists, obviously. Even the interview from Fox Sports from Ruben Rodriguez, I don't know if it was released today, but I saw it on my timeline today. And so quick general thoughts on that. And then did anybody catch some of the action as far as media day? André Pierre spoke, Nahuel Guzman spoke, Guido Pizarro spoke, Cristina Ferral spoke. Some of the leaders on both sides were speaking today and about some interesting topics. Nope. Nobody
I didn't hear much.
Okay.
I didn't get time to watch it.
All right. André Pierre talked about his contract renewal. He mentioned that they're close to finishing the contract renewal, that he wants it, the club wants it, and he's not worried about of it happening or coming to fruition. So it's looking like, and obviously we had an idea this was going to happen, that we're going to get him for about another year, because he mentioned that he feels confident in the year of more playing time, as well as he's wanting to demonstrate that he still has a lot to give to the club on the field, not off the field or on the bench. He was very clear about that. And so he said he feels very strongly about his legs. He never had major injuries, and he said he's taking care of himself in order to come back. And he knew that he messed up whenever he got his surgery, that he felt good. But then after the game against Juarez is when he noticed that he was in discomfort and pain. And that's why he decided to continue his recovery and extend that. So that was one of the highlights. Nahuel Guzman also talked about his renewal with the club and, taking a shot at, Chicharrón Deportes and Canal 6 Multimedios, about that his renewal is not happening just because Guido Pizarro is the coach, that both parts as well, the club and him, are very keen on making that renewal happening. And so I think his renewal might be more than a year. I think that might be a 2-year renewal, and more so 1 year with a second year option, which would favor the team and the player as well. So that was some of the highlights for me as far as media day happening. And obviously Guido talked about his style, what he's looking to implement, and the time that he's had with the club, and everybody on board. Brunetta talked, Nando Gorriarán talked. So media day, as far as the men's side, Cristina Ferral also mentioned, the comfortability of Pedro Losa, and Jenny Hermoso talked about Pedro Losa bringing the club together, and how she's found new life in this system playing under him, and she feels in good form playing under Losa.
Ferral in good form?
No, Ferral did.
No, Jenny Hermoso.
Jenny Hermoso. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, don't attack our captain, Lou. I will go to battle for you,
bro. All right, we'll talk about it.
Okay. I can't believe none of you guys caught media day.
Well, when they don't announce it and you just kind of get pictures of people in front of microphones, it's kind of hard to keep up with what's going on.
Dog, do you think we have the best PR department in the country right now?
Our PR department's horrible.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah, bro. That I'm with Edgar, bro. That was like ill. That was ill prepared, bro. Forget it.
Like, I
I
feel
did
like
catch a little bit of that Gignac interview. They asked him if the sindicato had fired Pauno,
Yeah.
and he was very transparent about the whole thing and forthcoming and honest. They didn't have anything to do with it. I don't know why people started that, but
I know why.
Care to
Because
share?
the media outlets in Monterrey are awful, and they'll unfortunately for whatever reason, everyone just loves the drama or I don't know the fake news.
Chicharrón.
What a novela!
Yeah, that's what they enjoy. Which is
Bro, I will never understand it. Like I can't comprehend the fact that you'd be willing to like such creation of lies. Like it doesn't even make sense. Like
The blood pact.
the blood path, bro. They cut their hands.
Like whenever yeah, bro, come on. Like se iban a agarrar a golpes, like they're about to get in a fight, after in the locker room. Like, come on, man. Like, what do you think these guys are? These guys gave us cups. These guys made us relevant. These guys are the reason why you as a fan have a reason to talk shit on social media because these guys gave us so much success. And you're gonna believe these folks out in multimedias who've had the same script for the last 30 or so years. And obviously after Don Robert passed away,
It's gotten worse.
yeah, bro. And it's like it's not like it honestly it's very unhealthy because you create so much drama and like you stir the pot so much that there's more conflicts because of it.
Bro, I don't and I don't understand why Mauricio Culebro gave Air Conditioner Head an interview, bro. Why? I don't understand, bro. Like the institution needs to cut ties with them. Like it's just after that story where he's sitting there and like it's dead silent and everybody's listening to him and he's like, yeah, here's what went down. All three players got together and they said, who's gonna be the coach? You, Guido. And then they cut their hands and then they shook on it.
Bro,
and I'm like, bro, you can't be serious, bro.
The only good thing that Igor Lichnowsky left us was branding them Mitómanos Deportes. That was the only good thing.
Bro, or the fact whenever like Tuca got like dismissed, he was like, all these guys are saying they're gonna leave with him. And I was like, what the heck, bro? Like, no, like, why would he even run with it? And like the fact that people so much believe in them, and like whenever I go to Monterrey, like that's how I judge you. If you're like a knowledgeable fan and I want to have a conversation with you, is like, do you listen to Multimedios Deportes? And if you talk about like La RG, like I can't take you serious. Like I cannot. Like I'm sorry.
That type of content is successful on Facebook, bro.
Yeah,
big time.
No thanks.
They're trying to start novelas about us because we're having we're in a better state than what's going on across town where there's real novelas going on. So they got to match it when really we're just riding the wave.
I guess that makes sense why we didn't hear about Media Day because as a whole, our journals in Monterrey are terrible. As a whole, I'm not saying all of them are. I shout out to Vladimir, shout out to Peyo, shout out to Edgar Martinez, to Jorge Rosales. Antonio Lely's on the fence for me now. I think with age, he's lost a screw, but he, for the most part, those guys that I mentioned sit well with me as far as like what they carry as journalists, and for both sides, not just for Tigres.
Yeah. Vladdy just randomly making a comeback is one of my favorite stories of 2025. Like he just disappeared after Siboldi left, and now he's back.
Yeah.
And breaking news.
But anyways, just wanted to mention about Media Day since we were talking about transfer. It felt like that could fit in there. What you got next, Edgar? We got 2 segments left.
Oh, time to get depressed. Oh no.
Alrighty. Up next, Las Amazonas meltdown. The not so great segment of the pod, we discussed Las Amazonas' poor performance against Las Águilas. Saturday night was a sour one as Tigres Femenil was defeated 2-1 in Mexico City. What exactly happened to a team that was ready to fly high and missed an opportunity to climb in the league standings? Let's discuss.
You know,
I'll be honest, I don't really want to discuss. This was awful.
yeah, bro. And the thing is, like, there was no signs of like them waking up. I like watching the first half. I was like, okay, like, you know, America's a good team. Like, you know, they've been well coached. Like, and I'm always giving compliments to their head coach, even though he looks like Barney nowadays from the Flintstones. Did you guys see that? He's got hair now. Bro, tell me I didn't see. He's got hair.
I saw it, bro, but I didn't want to bring it up.
Bro, why not?
That's not our topic, bro.
Hey, Beeks was saying, "Oh, he's looking good, bro," but it was kind of one of those like smirking underneath,
Bro, my man went to Turkey and
Bro, that does not even look close to legit, bro.
Bro, but I've always given.
They were like, "Oh, he went from having no hair to now a full set of hair. Wow, a miracle." Like, yeah, clearly fake.
All right, guys, talking about the girls,
but
it looked like they forgot how to play. It looked like Mila ball again.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, he's coached them really well, and so it was I was not expecting America to like sit back and like, oh, give us all like the playing field and the game in terms of possession and whatnot. But there was no signs at all. Like from the first minute to the last minute, America was the dominant team. And even if when we got that goal with Tembi, you know, again, like you said, felt like Mila Martinez once again is like, all right, we'll see what Jackie Ovalle or Tembi create in space because nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. There's no signs of good ball on the field. So definitely the first one, X on Pedro Losa for sure.
We were a midfielder too short. That's what it was.
That's a lie, Dennis.
Yep, I agree with Lou. Not with
I think the back line was a big issue.
The back line was bad, but I just feel like Delgado isolated like that. She was bad. Don't get me wrong.
No.
But like
Dennis, the opponent's in a 3-4-3, bro. You're playing a 4-2-3-1. You've got a numerical advantage.
I mean,
so you're playing Delgado and Mayor.
But is Mayor really like that?
And Hermoso at the top against Irene Guerrero and Nancy Antonio, and you can't win that midfield and you can't win possession.
Sure, but Mayor's not a defensive midfielder. That's what I'm saying.
But it's not like they were running by you either. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
but I'd rather have Farmer in there.
But she was coming. She's coming back from injury.
That's fine, but at least throw her in there in the second half to just kind of shore things up. That's what I'm saying. Because Mayor's she's not a 6. She's not a defensive midfielder.
But
to her defense,
why do you need a true 5 in place of Mayor when the only attacking midfielder you're facing is Irene Guerrero? Nancy Antonio is a holding mid, a true holding mid. So it just doesn't make sense to have 2 stout destroying midfielders when you can have one defensive mid, a true defensive mid, and one that's a mixed breed. All you're facing is Irene Guerrero. That's the only person they were going up against. And the whole night, they were at a numerical disadvantage. The entire night at a numerical disadvantage. And Pedro Losa got completely outcoached.
Yeah.
He made 0 adjustments. The team, when playing out the back, here was the first option. Rewatch the game and watch what they do when they play out the back. They go to Ferral on the wing, and there's no passing options, no passing lanes. They completely neutralized us playing out the back with just one winger because the winger would cut off the passing lane to the center back, and then there was nothing to pass to. And so you force Ferral into playing this long ball that's not even a 50-50 ball because it was half the time it was going nowhere. And so the entire night we're losing the ball. I didn't see the stats as far as passing accuracy, but I bet you it was probably in the 60 percentile, 70 percentile.
Ferral cannot be a fullback.
The game plan was awful.
And that was the entire night. And then you're playing with the doble pivote and you can't get open. Alexia Delgado was completely lost, bro. I mean, you could have pulled her. Dennis is complaining about Mayor. You could have easily pulled out Delgado, and you
Yeah.
wouldn't have missed her all night.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like we
And
played with 10 players.
and so why can't you, if you're not gonna try to even have any kind of possession at all, and you're gonna try to play direct or you're gonna try to play counter al pelotazo, bring in Jennifer instead of having Ana Diaz lonely up there who didn't get any touches. If you're
And
gonna play
then
al pelotazo, do that instead.
and
At
then
least you
Lou,
keep the center, their sweeper occupied. Their sweeper didn't do anything all night because she didn't have to.
and to add on to that, he played Ana Diaz on the wing spot and went and reverted back to what Mila Martinez was doing and playing Tembi up top.
Yeah, that was
That's what I'm
weird.
saying. It to me, it was all on him. Like he is the number one at fault for the result. And then after that, there's several players that didn't live up to the expectation. I think Alexia Delgado is someone easily to point out. I think Cristina Ferral had one of the worst games in the Tigres jersey. But definitely Alexia Delgado, worst game, and Cristina Ferral's possible worst game, if not the worst. And I think that America got to give them credit. Like they executed their game plan. They were coached really well, and ultimately they carried on that game plan and were attacking and stuck to that game plan the entire game because there was no signs throughout the 90 minutes of play and extra time that we were going to make it out and have an advantage to possibly win that game.
The goal that we scored, it was us in a low block, just trying to survive. Natalia calling cleared it, but she wasn't going to Thembi at all. She was just trying to clear the ball. The ball happened to land in a spot where Thembi could get to it with her speed. Gave it to Ovalle. Ovalle gave it back to Thembi in space, and she scored. And that was our only option in the entire night. And it came off of basically just happenstance because it wasn't a play we constructed, a true counter-attacking play that we had actually constructed. It was us just throwing the ball into space. Somebody found it. We got lucky. That was literally the only option we had the entire night, pretty much. Our defensively, their second goal, they had 2 attackers on our 5 defenders, bro, and we broke down. It was horrendous. So Ferral gets beat by Camberos on the 1v1. Mayor then was playing, goal side defending, kind of the support, and was so weak defending. Gets by her, and then Natalia Calling takes the complete wrong angle instead of playing goal side and covering. Takes the wrong angle, lets her cross the ball. Alexia Delgado was like in no man's land, right? And so the ball gets across, and then Jenny Hermoso didn't do anything to trot back and cover zone 14. So then the ball just goes in. The ball gets passed back to the middle, and they score easily. And Nancy Antonio ended up scoring. So they're holding mid scored.
Off a left-footed shot too.
And that started 2 versus 5, and we gave up a score. Their first score, they had 3. It was 3 of our defenders. It was Ana Seiza, Anika Rodriguez, and Cristina Ferral against Camberos, and she got past all 3 of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, we gotta tighten up, man. Like, we gotta teach our defenders, hey, if you can't come out clean, don't come out clean. Destroy the play. Go ahead and foul.
Do you know why Pedro Loza wouldn't use Anika in her natural position as a right back, Ana Seiza in her natural position as a left back, and use Natalia Colin and Ferral in center back?
I have no idea. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it at all.
Especially
because Seiza has looked so much better as a fullback.
Yeah, I don't know though. I agree with you from an initial aspect of like, yeah, she has looked better, but I don't know if she's actually the answer at the left back spot.
But she's better than Anika and having to leave Ferral at right back. Like,
yeah, that part I don't understand. It did, when the first move happened of she played at the right center back spot, I was like, okay, I can see the numerical advantage aspect of like you want to come out of the back and you want to create possession. Ferral is really good with her feet, so you extend the field by having someone stepping into that, from the right back spot into that defensive mid spot, tucking into the field to create that possessional advantage. But against a team like America, where you have fast wingers, didn't look good. I mean, and she almost injured that player, and that was out of frustration when she got beat by the little 19, 18-year-old Monse Saldivar, I think.
Saldivar, yeah.
Yeah, and she's really good too. I personally, to me, whether you put Anika at the right back spot, the left back spot, I think she gives you a ton. Obviously, at the right back spot, that is her natural position. But even prior to that, like, she was not a right back; she was a right winger, and she was an offensive player. So ultimately, I think that with what Pedro Losa was trying against these other teams was working because they were inferior talented teams, but against a team that has equally, or if not, better talent at some positions, you choked. You naturally choked, and that was transmitted onto the players because the players were lost. And again, I can sit here and tell you, Alexia, Cristina Ferral, Ana Cesa, even Anika didn't have one of her best games. Jenny Hermoso coming in great form, didn't have a good game. Stephanie Mayor, we were talking about how well she had been playing and finding new life at the center defensive midfield spot. Ana Diaz playing, right wing as opposed to playing up top, and then being the forward. And then Jackie Ovalle frustrated. How many times did you see Jackie Ovalle actually taking on players like she normally does? And I think that from the initial game plan to the continuation of the game, the confidence was not there for the players, and they showed with some of the fouls that they were making on the field against the America players.
Two things. You wanted the answer to the how many passes we completed or a percentage? According to SofaScore, 68.8%.
Yeah,
So
kind of what I thought.
yeah,
That's awful.
you nailed it.
And a good possession team, 85 is what you should average.
Yeah.
How many passes?
We completed 172 out of 250
Go back to the previous game
against Mazapan.
And yeah, that one in the previous game. Give me the last two.
Okay. Made me do some math here. Well, I'm thinking about
And
that.
Pedro Losa needs to understand, man, this team is not. First of all, it doesn't matter how the team's built, but the team's not built to play like that. You were not built to play in the low block and counter or al pelotazo. That's not what we want. And second of all, it's the kind of style that's going to get you fired because the fans don't have a taste for that. That's not what we want to see. And so, to me, this is the game you got to really look. There was a ton there, bro. We had, it was a ridiculous amount of throw-ins that we had, and go back and look at the amount of wasted throw-ins we had in that game where there's no movement, bro. Like Anika Rodriguez will have the ball up, looking.
Screwing up.
There was nobody there, bro, because there's nobody moving.
Yep.
And then America's like baiting you, go throw it to the center back so we can go press her.
You can't put that on the coach, though. I mean, the players. I mean, that you got to blame the players for that.
It's lazy. It's lazy for sure. But that's also something you got to train, right? You got to train your movements. You got to train your players. And if they're not executing, then it's on you as a coach. If you're seeing it in the first half, to go in there at halftime and chew them out, man, because that was wasted the entire game. Another thing I'm seeing is any cross into the box doesn't get cleared properly. It goes back into zone 14 where they can take a shot straight in. It's like, what, the second rule you learn as a center back, as a defender, is don't ever clear it central. Yeah. Clear it to the sideline.
Why?
And I'm seeing that, dude. I'm seeing that a dozen times a game. And all you're doing is just setting yourself up for them scoring. It's basically you're giving them another shot at another opportunity of scoring. So there's just way too much to fix right now.
All right. Mazatlan game. Actually, no, let me say the Santos game. 82.5%. 412 out of 499.
Yeah.
And then the Mazatlan game was 86%. 480 out of 561.
So he changed his game plan. And even the comment that you're making about the movements from the throw-ins, that's because the players were lost. Tactically, they were lost. They didn't know how to respond to what America was doing to them in their buildups. And, obviously they're at home. They had a good crowd, like awesome really showing by their fan base. And their Tigres Femenil is the rival to them, even though that doesn't work both ways, and they create good matchups. Our rival through the city is Monterrey, through championships is Monterrey, but America Femenil has created this like rivalry with us because they can't get over the fact that we're the more successful team or with the most championship, even possibly even the more popular team, because they take the credibility from the men's side of things, and they use it as a two-way promotion or aspect of marketing their team, and it's very noticeable. So I think for the club, as far as and the players, this sort of rivalry gets created. So Tigres Femenil, no matter what, is a team to beat against any team. But I think America has taken the flag to take and lead that charge to being the better team in terms of signings, the whole rivalry that was created with Katy Martinez going over there, and some now Nancy Antonio. So I think that matchup creates sparks before the match is even played. And I think America Femenil was just more prepared coaching wise, player wise, and it showed. It was very evident that we looked awful. We looked like the team from last season, and we didn't look like the team that Pedro Losa was looking to show us with the progression of successful stint that he had prior to this game in the last 5 or 6 matches.
They were definitely playing chess and we were playing checkers. And to me, it's a concern because tactically they were way smarter than us. Like I encourage you guys to go back and rewatch it. It's on VIX, and the way they were pressing, really structured, really well organized. You can tell he's been working on that team to do this, and they outsmarted us, bro. They were like numerically superior in every position, dude. Every pocket of the pitch, they were better positioned. Their movements was a lot sharper, and that worries me, bro, because that's what makes the difference in the big games. Is
Well,
how tactically astute are you when everything else is equal, right? Stadiums, both stadiums in a big matchup, like let's say finals or semifinals, both stadiums will be packed. Both squads very talented. So now does it boil down to? And it boils down to you being technically astute. And if that trend continues, where we're continue to get dumber on the pitch, we're not going to win the big games, and that to me is worrisome.
and he had the biggest showcase for it. You go back to last season in that semifinal matchup. America had some really good moments in that matchup, and ultimately Tigres pulled it off through some good individual performances as well as the positioning on the table. Now, you fast forward to the season, America has the position on the table, and he had the time and preparation to figure out a way to beat them. He was on track already, with the previous performances, because the battles that we've had with them, they've been close as of late.
Yeah.
And so he now figured it out. And that was my biggest letdown with Pedro Losa, is that the fact that he showed very good things, and the players showed very good things over the last matches, and here we are. Like, and I wasn't expecting for us to rout them, but I was definitely expecting them to at least pull off a tie, if not a small margin victory. And this guy has just figured it out and how to beat us. And now the question is whether Pedro Losa and the squad is going to come back from this. And like historically, the signs points to yes, but I think that in the past, the balance was more inclined towards us, and I don't think the season is quite yet. And you throw on top of the fact that they also had some injuries, like we have as well, but ours have been more established injuries from the beginning, where theirs just happened as of recent. Their starting goalkeeper was out, their starting forward was out, and I can't. I think I can't remember the third player, but Sarah Lubert, the third starter, was out. So I think that's where, again, like going back to your comment of chess and checkers, I think America, coaching wise and player wise, are playing chess, and we are catching up or playing catch up.
Circling back to what Alfred was saying, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because of the altitude thing. So I'm going to give him just a small pass. But man, the effort next time we face them, dude, there's gonna be more on the line, and the effort's gonna have to be much greater, bro. Like I just saw just laziness out there, lazy in our movement, lazy in our pressing, and it's just it's unacceptable. It really is. I mean, if Jenny Hermoso's not up for it that day, or if Alexia Delgado's not up for it that day, next person up. So
And Lou,
we can't do it no more. That's it. I mean, they had their free pass in Liguilla. They don't get that pass, man. The effort's gonna have to be there.
and then one last comment on to add on what you said. The substitutions. How long did it take him to make a substitution?
Yep.
Like what? Like everything that you're mentioning about, circling back to what Alfred said about the altitude, giving the free pass. Okay, use your bench.
Yeah.
Make the substitutions early. You knew Alexia Delgado wasn't playing. Everybody saw it. The America coach saw it immediately. We saw it. Like that was the sub that should have been established from the get-go. And like you said, we wouldn't have missed much regardless. So that was another factor as well, that the substitutions were awful.
Yeah, and late. Yeah, I mean it. Like I tweeted it during the game. It reminded me of the Mila days. Like it gave me flashbacks to that. It was just terrible all around.
Yeah, yep. Got to come back. Got to figure it out. And this was the most important
3 games left.
Yeah, I was going to say the most important part of the season with the tougher opponents and finishing out. You still have Pachuca left, Juarez, if I'm not mistaken,
And Pumas.
Pumas.
We have Juarez at home on Sunday, and then 2 away games. Pumas on the 13th and Pachuca on the 18th.
Oof.
Anybody? This is my last comment about this game. Was anybody else a little confused as to why Jennifer didn't start? I understand you got to rotate here and there, but like, she scored in like the last like.
I want to say the altitude thing.
Maybe, yeah.
They asked the coach, and the coach said, "Oh, she's not ready to start yet." Basically,
bro. But that's the thing that doesn't make sense to me. Like, whenever you have talented players, and like she's a national team player, she's an Olympic player. She has 7 goals this season, 6 goals with one of the two. I think it's 7 in 7 matches, or 6 in 7 matches. The player's ready. Like there's no question the player's it's a question of like, that she's not fit in form, not skillful. Like she should have been playing. So I'm with you, Dennis. I think for the first part of the season where she was getting acclimated to the team, whatnot, you went with Ana Diaz, and I'm a fan of Ana Diaz, and but ultimately Jennifer Cordonali is the more talented player, and she was brought to be the starting forward for Tigres Femenil, and it's time. It's now or never. Like, are you going to wait till the end of the season into the playoffs to make her the starter? Like, this is the perfect time. And she was subbed on, and he might as well have left her on the bench because she didn't contribute, but not necessarily to her fault because of the game plan and what was happening throughout the game.
Yeah, I don't know. I was annoyed by that because after seeing her twice last week and just like actually seeing her movement live in person, I was really impressed.
She's good.
I think very highly of her now. Like she's a good player, really good player. Again, against weak competition, but she's a good player. So,
okay. Any final thoughts, Edgar? Anything you want to add before we move on?
Not really. Just a lot of room to improve, and hopefully we do. As Lou mentioned, this is a mistake for now. It's not going to be able to happen again in Liguilla.
I don't know how long Losa's contract is, bro, but he better get with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No room for errors.
We don't have any patience with this. We want results.
And Champions
I know he follows you, Arnaldo, so you put that out. This is my warning to him.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm with you, and even with more reason.
You tweet it, Lou, and then Arnaldo can retweet
it. Hey, yo. I want to make one last comment before I move on to Alfred's section. Alexia Delgado. I tweeted after the game. Aaliyah Farmer's natural position is a center defensive mid. She looked great playing at the center back spot because she gives you that almost what Hugo Ayala used to do for the men's side at the center back spot, just someone that was tall, good footwork, coming out of the back, clean, just good in the air. And she did well up into her injury with the national team, but her natural position is the center of defensive mid spot. And we talk about Mayor coming into that spot, and Dennis mentioned wasn't very happy with her performance. Obviously, rightfully, it didn't work out for this game. But then you have Mari Carmen Reyes, who's going to come back next season. So to me, this is a warning, because she hasn't stood out this entire season. If anything, collectively we stood out, but Alexia Delgado as the individual has not stood out and has been the question mark. And I've stated this on this pod before from the previous season. Good talented player, good young player. Is she the natural 5, defensive mid? Probably not. She's got a good, some good things going on for her in terms of what she brings to the position. Like I said, she's young, still developing, but naturally raw talent. Farmer is the more talented player. And once Mari Carmen comes back, there's no room in that midfield spot. And ideally, and I think we all agree, and as a fan base, from what we've seen from Farmer and what we know of Mari Carmen, that is the tandem and duel for that midfield, as we get healthy.
Alexia's no Delgado. And Delgado was our Carioca in the feminine.
Right now, Delgado to me is 4th down on the depth chart for me at the CDM spot. I just don't. She's gone downhill, man, a lot.
Yeah, she's lost a lot of
right now. La Chata outplays her at that spot, and I hate to say it, but
let's say it pains you to say that, doesn't you?
And Ana Seiza would be better in that spot. Natalia Colin would be better in that spot. Farmer would be better in that spot. I mean, I
meant to say Mercado.
Yeah, I was wondering why you said that, but I sort of caught that.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, just wanted to make that last comment. Ponte las pilas, Alexia. Vamos. All right, Alfred, your section before we head out.
All right, well, Edgar put one that's really good. I didn't add that one on. But if he wants to go ahead and share that one.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share this one. I finally found a memorable from the vault moment. March 14th, 2020. Tigres 3-2 against Juarez. It was the last match of the season that was cut short due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Andre Pierre, Edu Vargas, and an own goal secured the win. Tigres was actually down 1-0 at the half.
I truthfully, I can't recall that match.
It's hard to recall that season, but we were not having a good season. We finished 7th, and before
neither was Rayados, Edgar.
Yeah.
You know what I thought the last match was? I thought the
last
one with
match, the Pumas.
Yeah.
With Guignac's goal.
Yeah. That's the last recollection because I remember
that was at home. That was the last match at home.
Okay. Yeah. No, that was what I remember last because I remember I came back from the rodeo from Houston. I was blitz, and then I saw the goal at 3 a.m. It was awesome.
Of course you were.
That season, Rayados was the worst defending champion. No.
Yep.
They had 1 or 2 points or something ridiculous.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, right, because it was yeah. God, I got to go back and watch that highlight so I can remember. Edu Vargas and Andre Pierre Gignac in a stat sheet. That's definitely something to watch.
All right, guys, I got one for you. So on the 19th of March, 11 years ago, Tigres played quarterfinals of the Copa MX versus a long-gone rival, Atlante. This was a night where we had 3 goals from Alan Pulido. We had goals from El Gringo Torres, Burbano, and Juninho, and we ended 6-0.
What? In la Copa MX?
Copa MX quarterfinals against Atlante. I hadn't heard Atlante in a long time.
Is this the same one where we beat Alebrijes for the cup?
Same cup.
Wow. Burbano. With number 8 or number 10?
Who knows? Was he number 8 or number 10? I don't know.
He was number 10 whenever Elias Hernandez left, but then we loaned him or something. He came back and he wore number 8.
Yeah, I think he was 8 for that tournament.
I don't know. Yeah.
Dude, that was another flop. He was doing so well, Leon, and then came over and sucked. Alan Pulido hat trick though. Oof.
I forget those guys playing together.
That was 2014, right? You said
2014 must have been before Pulido left. Yep.
Yeah, because he left.
Before Guignac came on.
Yeah, he left for the World Cup. Remember?
Yeah.
Right.
You're right. All right. Next one. So also on the 19th of March, 3 years ago, we had the Clásico 127 that was all French. We won 2-0 with 2 goals, one from Guignac, which was right outside the box, right-footed, and got past the goalie. And then, if you remember, we had another Frenchman playing with us, Florian Thauvin, scoring that golazo
from the sideline.
Trash.
Mm-hmm. Last but not least, we'll make a short mention. Today, 29 years ago, it's the infamous 24th of March of 1996 is the day that, it was decided that we were no longer going to be a first division team. We were relegated, but then we came back from the ashes.
Lou, we got one more thing. Edgar, you want to? I don't know who wrote that one, but if you want to read the shout out, and then I'm going to toss it over to Lou to end us.
Yeah, real quick. Not a from the vault moment, but just special shout out to friend of the pod, Josue. He and his spouse are expecting a new Incomparable to join their family and to join the Tigres fan base. So shout out to them.
Absolutely. Josue was one of the first pioneers of this pod. Then his life got really busy traveling a lot for work and got married and now having and expecting a baby. So shout out to him. That's awesome. Good news and awesome from Edgar to share that. I'm going to make sure send him a message to make sure he listens to this pod, and obviously, he's a fan of the show. So ultimately, shout out to him. Lastly, I want to circle back to the last thing you read, Alfred, about the relegation. It's not that I want to spend so much time on it, but I think Lou would probably have a better indication through his personal experience of what that was like, and just a reflection of it, Lou, to close us out on the pod. Obviously, we can all share something about it, but ultimately, I think you would be a great source of a good reflection to end the pod episode with the relegation and what that meant, as well as where we stand now.
Honestly, man, it's an event that I celebrate, and it's weird to say, right, because it's such a sad thing. It's like breaking an arm and then healing back up and getting stronger from it. That's kind of what relegation was to us. But I think it was a pivotal moment in our history. I think it's something that we should celebrate. We should bring it up. And I'm glad you guys brought it up because it changed everything for the better for us. It was a moment that we got to basically clean the entire house. We had a lot of glory days early on in the late 70s, early 80s. But after a lot of our players left and aged, some of them stayed around and aged, the squad, it was tough years from like the mid 80s forward. It was really tough. And then the early 90s it was rough to watch, man. It was really rough and a lot of bad choices, a lot of bad management, Guillermo Lara, the president, bringing in, just really weird combination of players and coaches and, Paco Avilan, who had been, a cup-winning coach for Rayados, now coaching us in the early 90s and 92 and 93, 94. Bringing guys like that and Jorge Vieira, which Tab Ramos talked about, who was one of his first coaches that he was with, and Carlos de los Cobos and Victor Manuel Bucetich, who ultimately, got the blame for what happened, but really it wasn't really his fault. It was something that we had been carrying, a lot of baggage we'd been carrying for years, dude. And the relegation caused us to clean house. It caused us to change. And I remember being relegated and being really sad about it. And I was going around to all the neighbors that I knew that were Tigres in the barrio, right? Going around like, hey, what are we gonna do, man? What are you guys doing? Like, you gonna jump ship? You gonna go somewhere else? And I just remember Tigres being proud, saying, no, we're gonna stick around. We're gonna support the team. And I was a young buck back then, and to me that stuck with me, man, because it taught me that you gotta be with your team at all times, no matter what's going on. And it kind of created this fan base that was gritty, that was tough, resilient, the aguante that we all talk about right now. Now we say, hey, if you don't suffer, you're not a tigre. Well, that started back in the 90s, back in the early 90s when we were having all that trouble. And so it kind of forged us as a fan base. And so it was a really important event because it brought about Sinergia Deportiva, Cemex into the organization, and better management. And you could see it from 97 forward. You started getting guys like, El Diablo Nunez and Coca and all these other guys that started coming in, and the squad looked different. Obviously, we still had our struggles, but we became competitive. And then I remember 2001 sort of being the year when the first time in my life we were competitive against the big teams like America and the Chivas and the Necaxas, and actually like feeling like we could compete. And those events were hurtful too, because we lost that final in 2001, we lost that final in 03, and it was hurtful, but it sort of started creating that buildup to where we are now, right? So we get to enjoy these moments now, and we're very demanding as a fan base, but it all started back then when we cleaned house, when we started with Cemex. And so to me, Cemex is also a brand that I cherish a lot because what they did for the organization. And I think there's that bond. And so the relegation brought us that. And so, when we talk about relegation, it should be a proud moment for us because, like it was mentioned earlier, we came out of the ashes and we became a better team, we became a better fan base. And honestly, we should go back every once in a while and remember our humble beginnings, right? And kind of where we came from, so we don't get too stuck in our ways. Any fans that were back there that jump ship, that's fine. We lost them. We kept the good ones, right? And so we should always think about that, being good fans to the squad, being good examples, and having that perfil tigre, which is very important.
Well spoken, my friend. Well spoken. Well, fellas, great pod. It's been a pleasure. Thanks everybody for tuning in once again to another episode of the Lau Times podcast. Looking forward to coming back next week. We got like we talked about, America this weekend, and Tigres Femenil has, you said, Juarez on Sunday at home, and then obviously we kick off Champions League round of 16 against the LA Galaxy. Quarterfinals. I'm sorry, thinking of March Madness, Sweet 16. But anyways, Alfred will be there, so we'll get some content for you guys from there as well. So also look out for the clips that we'll be posting from our last week's interviews with Tal Ramos and David Copeland Smith, and go check out those audio interviews on Spotify and Apple. You can also find them on YouTube. And share, give us feedback. We really appreciate, when we get the feedback, because it encourages us and motivates us to, do better and continue to get together and discuss. And, like we always said it, the invitation's open. I know Woodsy was on here mentioning earlier, Lou talked to Carlos. So the invitation is always open for the pod. One of us, trust me when I say this, does not mind sitting out an episode or two to include more people and, give you guys a chance to also speak freely about the team. And so we would love.
It'll give Dennis a chance to get better lighting too.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I don't got cool lighting over here. But what I do have is it,
bro. The rest of the room is pitch white, bro, and we can't see you.
Bro, is that the T-shirt?
Ooh, bro.
Just the shirt. I didn't get the jersey, but the shirt
Yeah.
was crazy.
There was no money for light bulbs, but there was money for the
Always, bro.
gala jersey, bro.
I got my priorities in the wrong place every single day of the week. You'll know me.
That's awesome. Well,
Lou, real quick. Dodgers going back to back. Baseball starts this week.
Oh yeah, bro. It's a lock, bro. They added to the pitching staff. Yeah, man.
Bicampeón.
Yeah, it's happening.
we'll see what we have to say about that down in Houston.
Oh my goodness.
See ya.